And I'm back. Welcome back to Mellobot Studio for the first time. It's an intro video, so I'm back from what? The next room, cross town, vacation. Look, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. Let's not forget that. Look, this is my this is my studio. Look, I'm piping in air conditioning from the other room, just right on the computer. There's a computer fan over here. You can hear that. Let me turn off my gate. Yeah, totally pro. Totally pro. Anyway, I'm using a noise gate, so you may hear that click on and off every once in a while. But welcome to my studio. This is what's up. I've got wardrobe over here. I do a podcast with my wife in there. I got a couple RE20s up in there, but this is a microphone that my buddy 3D printed for me, and so I love it. I'm going to use it in here because I don't want to move those. Those are set up. You just move it in front of your face, start talking. So my drum kit's over here now. I use an electronic kit. I used to have a kit set up in there, but my wife took over, and then she moved our wardrobe in here, which is awesome. Either way, we're going to talk about mixing music on this channel. Look, I want to say right away, I'm not a professional, right? I'm not a professional. Obviously, you could tell. That's why I wanted to point everything out. This is not a pro audio channel. So if you get your feelings hurt about some kind of audio stuff, hey, man, that's all on you. And plus, I cuss a little, so there's that. Intro over. Now, let's go over and look at if you want to know more about me, you can ask me, right? Let's go look at some other stuff over here. Let's go check out the mixing template, my mixing setup. This is what I use to record and mix, right? I've got everything in folders, right? Set up, lots of stuff over there. It looks like a lot of tracks. It's not really. It ends up not being a lot of tracks. So this is my layout, my edit layout, editing window. And then I have, and this is just for me, and me and my wife, we do stuff together, so this is just for us. Then I have the mixing window. What fun. What fun lies ahead. We have the master out. Am I even looking at this the right way? Okay. We have the master out. This is for my Moto drums, right? I use that for, well, maybe I can click on it and it'll come up. Whoa, there it is. This is from ikmultimedia. I use a lot of their plugins. This is my drum kit, but I don't like mixing inside this. So I take it all out and then record it into other tracks. And here's the tracks. Drums are in green, color coded, right? Got kit left, kit right, room. Basically I record the drums, the stereo in. That's how I'm able to basically get over latency with recording through a drum program. Is I just listen to what's coming off the kit, the stereo out. It's just a little cheap kit. And then I listen to that while I'm playing. And then I also record it just to have an extra something in there to mess with later on. So, and then I just mix the other stuff. All right, let's go back. I'm having to clear my throat here. I'm hitting the mute button. Try not to clear my throat right in your mouth, right in your ear, I mean. Either way, it would suck. Now, here's what's up. On these regular tracks, I have them all feeding. The kicks are all feeding. Okay, where are they feeding? I don't know how that got over there. Huh. Some of this stuff's been moved around, so. Oh, no, it hasn't. That's kit left and right. Okay, so I got the Moto kick. Then I'll have another kick sample, and it's usually just a sample that I like. And then a sub kick where I take this inside kick, and I'm running it through a gate. There's a tone generator before the gate at 55 hertz, and then I can EQ it to the kick, and it's a kick sub. So that's cool. It'll trigger the gate, and it'll open, and then you got your sub, and you can put distortion on it or whatever you want. And then all the kicks are feeding a bus, the kick bus, and it's mono, and it's coming out to the board over here on my StudioLive. Use a StudioLive, right? And then on the channels on the board, on all the channels, I'll show you that in a minute. All right, let's go back over here. I don't want to get myself confused. That's what I'm looking at here. Then I have the snare, Moto snare sample, and these are all audio channels. I transfer them over to audio channels. Snare fizz is basically the same situation where I have a snare triggering the gate and a tone generator with white noise or pink noise, whatever you pick, and then you can EQ it to to fit your snare. And then I've got where I can mix in the box. So I've got all these sends down here, 8 sends. Okay, then I have snare. All these snares are running to the bus, snare bus, and it's mono, and it's going into the board. Then I have overheads. These are generated by all the other, by the kick, the snare, let's see, and the toms and cymbals all go into overheads, and then I just, mix them in as I like. Overheads and rooms, these are simulated from all the other things. And then I have rooms, which are just the kit left and right that I record in that I was talking about earlier. And then I don't know where this room mic, maybe I get it from the kit. I got it set up somehow. I think I get that from the kit too. Okay, all these are audio tracks that come off that kit, and then I mix them. And they all go into their own bus, and then they go out to the board. Let me pull these down. Now, every one of these buses, okay, let's go back over here to the kick. And this goes on down. Bass, cymbals, same thing. Bass, it's going out to sub 7 on the board, and I'll show you that. So all these bass is going. This is really just one bass, and then if I have to make a record, another one or punch in or some shit, I got other tracks available. Then guitars, lead guitar, it all goes into a bus. Everything gets a bus. Main vocal gets a bus. Acoustic guitar, it goes into the guitar bus in case I decide to record acoustic or electric. I've got it set up either way, right? Then I've got acoustic lead. It goes into the lead bus with the lead guitar. They're going the same bus because I may do acoustic, I may do whatever. Then I got vocals, got distorted vocals. They're all going to the same bus down here on the board, and blah blah blah. It goes on and on all the way down. And then I have it set up to where everything can go over to these groups here. So you have drum group, bass group, guitar group, acoustic, blah blah blah. Me and my wife, keyboards, right? And then I have effects channels. All right. And then I'll record my mix in here, dry mix, and then a mix with a compressor. And I'll show you that in a minute. Excuse me. All right. So that's the setup for mixing, recording and mixing, right? And then what happens is I can click on this little icon over here. I don't know if you can see it. Let me get out of the way. Make sure I'm looking at the right thing here. Yeah. Okay. So I click on this icon right here because I have that hidden. Then I click on that, and that shows all the buses. Then I go over to here, right? And then close it. And then I will hide. This is what shows on my board. If I hit DAW mode on the StudioLive, this is what'll show. So I'll go in when I'm done and hide all these where only the buses show. You'll only see the buses and only the buses I'm using. I'm not going to use all of these buses down through here. It's a lot of buses, I've only got 32 channels, so I got to get it down to that. Anyway, I'm not going to record that much stuff. It's just there if I need it, so it's not necessary. So I'll go in and hide these, and then it'll only show the buses. And that's what I will see on my board down here if I hit DAW mode. Now, I go back and forth between DAW mode on my board. Let me go back to the main screen here. They're the same right now because I haven't, hidden anything. But I go back and forth between DAW mode because each bus that's going out to the board, let's highlight these buses. This is all I'm mixing. This is all I will see is these gray buses all the way down. And then that's what I'll be mixing. It may be 10, it may be 15, it may be 24 buses, but everything goes to a bus and it goes out to the board. Now the kick and snare are both mono, and all the other buses are stereo. So that way I can add effects on here, stereo effects. I'm not going to be putting any stereo effects on a kick and snare, but I could do even for bass, I could do chorus or something on here. Decide to do it on here instead. And then every one of these buses that goes out to the board, right, to their own channel. So this kick bus right here correlates on the StudioLive board. This is a representation of all of the inputs on the board, right? And then it correlates to the kick channel here. And then I'll go over all the effects in just a moment. And then, let's go over what I can use inside. I usually start with a 1073. This is ikmultimedia T-Rax 1073. I love their plugins. I got a bundle. I was actually going for the one plugin, this one here, but I got a deal. It was like $50 or $60 just for this, and then it was like $100 for all of them. So I was like, okay, I'll take that. I'll take that bet. All right. So anyway, EQ 73, that's what I start with. And I usually only use this middle EQ on it right here for drums. And then I'll pull that down quite a bit for kick drum, I mean. But otherwise, I don't usually use the EQ on this. And then I have and I can mix it inside the box, or I can mix it in the box if I want to, but I don't usually. I come out to the board. So what I do, the way I have it set up, is I have it set up preamp, then EQ on this channel strip before compression, just a slight bit of compression, and then I go out to compression before EQ, and I'll show you that. But this is my favorite channel strip ever. I love SSL channel strips. They're absolutely awesome. This one's great. They have a regular 4000, I think it's 4000K or something. This is like a 9000J, and it's just tighter for me. I love it. You can go back and forth between the brown knob and the black knob, but it's really awesome. And the compressors on here, I'm sure on all the SSLs, this is the only one I've ever used, channel strip. I mean, I'm sure they're badass. I love this compressor. It's awesome. It only has a release. So there's that. And then I just leave the filter in, but I don't use it. I use the high pass on the board, and I'll show you that in a moment. If you're here, you're probably using a StudioLive, right? So then I use a de-esser. I put a de-esser on every fucking, every bus gets a de-esser because God, they're so handy. And the StudioOne de-esser is just perfect. It's perfect. You put it where you need it. You click a few buttons if you need to. You solo it. Bam, you're done. Done, son. Nothing else. And then I got saturation just in case I want to use, like have a tape saturation or something. I've got tape machines, but man, you'd use 1, 2, 3 of those on here, and then you've pretty much used up all of your power, your PC power. Your CPU power is gone, son. These ikmultimedia plugins, some of them will take up, but they sound really good. The more CPU they take up, the better they sound usually. So they sound super good, but you can only use a couple. This one's got tape emulation, couple tape, all kinds of different amps, transformers, and whatnot. It's a pretty cool little saturator, but if I want to saturate, I'll saturate. And then I use this equal. It's a little EQ at the end. And on the kick, I usually go down here to 100, turn that on, bring it down about 3 dB, and then on the bass, I go down 3 dB over here, 55 hertz. But I usually just use it on the channels in case I need to do some kind of fine shit. I got some kind of weird frequency, but I use the spectrum analyzer on it just in case, even when I'm up here and I'm like, man, what's going on down here? If I'm in this other EQ and I just need to see it, I'll use the spectrum analyzer. And then I use it throughout a mix. I'll show you the mix in the next video that I'm working on. It's called Trend Hard, and you'll see that in the next video. We'll work on drums or something. So now we're going to go out to the board. So these buses all correlate to a channel on the board. I showed you that already with the kick. Now the way I have it set up here is I have a gate, right? That channel strip also has a gate, so there's gates everywhere, right? I gate it before I go in. That's another thing. I commit to it. StudioOne, StudioLive has a way that you can print the effects. So I just print the effects and then I don't go backwards, right? So that makes me a better mix engineer when I print the effects and I go, oh shit, fuck that up. Next time I'm going to do this, right? Or maybe I got to redo it. Who knows? It may just happen. All right, let's go back over here. Make sure I am over here. All right, we're over here. Cool. So we got the kick drum. We have the snare overhead. Now, the cool thing about it is it brings it down to one fader in here, so you don't have to mess with stereo faders on the board. But when I hit the user layer, it breaks it down to where I'm only looking at what I have on the user layer, and I have everything set up in one fader on the user layer. So once I get down to actually mixing, this is what I'm looking at. One freaking fader. I got all of them, all 32 channels set up right here. Boom. In stereo. The kick and snare mono, the rest are stereo, and I can put anything in them and rename them. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be my wife's name over here or my name, right? But I don't mix anybody else's stuff normally. I'm just doing my own stuff. So I'll come in, mess with the high pass on the board. Obviously, the stuff that I need. I don't need any of this stuff right here. Then I go over to gate. Probably don't need it for most things because I'll gate it on the way in. If I do, I can use either one of these gates on the channel strip up there or the one on the board. Then I have the compressor set up. I use the RC500 compressor. I love StudioOne stuff, man. It just works, right? I love their stuff. Now I'm not too excited about their 1176. 1176s in general, man. Everybody is just crazy about the 1176, right? It just sounds like everything's in a box. It's very boxy. It has one sound and one sound only, and it only really ever sounds good on room mics. That's all. The only thing I've even tried it on vocals. People are like, oh yeah, put it on, but not on my vocal. It don't, right? But I do absolutely love a lot of their plugins. I don't really like that one, but I love this RC500. It's set at 3-to-1, and dude, this attack is as fast as fuck, boy. I mean, I think it's like goes down to like a millisecond or a half a millisecond or some shit. Just like it knows what you're gonna do before it's like look ahead. It's crazy, but it's set to 3-to-1, and in my mind, what I'm doing is I'm going through. If think about it, I'm going through the preamp. I'm going through EQ on that channel strip before compression. Then I'm just tapping it a little bit, getting it to move forward a little bit, and then I might set the release a little bit on that one. Then I go down to this other compressor and I compress it a little bit more. It's a FET compressor, okay? So I compress. I think the one on the channel strip is supposed to be a VCA compressor. The RC500 is a FET compressor, just like an 1176, just like a lot of other compressors. So I go down to that one, compress a little bit more, and then I use, hold on. Are we over here? Yes. And then I can actually set the attack and release over here on that, and the attack can get really fast on it. 3-to-1 compression is perfect because I'm not trying to do a lot. It's really good for channel compression anyway. And then on the EQ, I use the EQ. I put the compression before the EQ, and then I end with what's called a finishing EQ. Now, I don't know if you've ever heard of a finishing EQ, but I heard of this concept from Tom Lord Alge. Tom Lord Alge, Andy Wallace, and Manny Marroquin and Matt Mahaffey are some of my favorite music engineers, absolutely my favorite music engineers, and Yoav Nevo of all time. They're badasses. And Tom Lord Alge talks about finishing EQ all the time. And if you think about it, right, when you're EQing into compression, you are pushing that into compression. You're making it tight. You're feeling that space. So it's compressed. And then that, like say the kick drum, you're EQing 55, 60 hertz, boom, into that compression. You're just feeling that up. And it's just, oh, tight, man. Oh, it's stuck. It's stuck. It's in your face, right? And then with the finishing EQ, you come in with 60 hertz again, and then you just, boom, I need a little fill out, man. It just, it's real tight. I need to fill it out a little bit. Boom, some boom, right? So that's what finishing EQ is, and I use it all the time. So sometimes I'll just cut before compression, or sometimes I'll push it in there, make it tight, and then do the finishing EQ, and that's what I use this EQ for. This is the VT1 EQ. Now look, it's just as good. Let me pull down their standard EQ. It's just as useful because most of their EQs that they have after other stuff are like 3 bands, some kind of weird bands, weird shit you got to do, right? Like but whatever. I just want to EQ. Here's some kind of weird stuff, right? One's a dip, one's a, I'm cool with it, but I like to have more bands. There's 3 bands, there's all the things, but I like the standard or the VT1. In this standard, you can put the 2 edges in, or the 2 last bands in shelving mode, and it can be just like that other one. But I've got a parametric equalizer up there. I really like the sound of the VT1 EQ, and both of these are in shelf mode, and then they can go up to, whatever mode you want. Whatever mode you want, or you can go into peak or shelf. But I just keep them in shelf most of the time, unless I'm doing, if I turn up a little bit of 50 hertz, I'll put it on a low frequency peak, and then I usually keep the high frequency peak as shelves because I love shelves. And then on the kick drum, man, I'm probably going to go up here, somewhere around 8 to 9K or somewhere, and bring that shelf down to where it's not, and then I keep the limiter on every track on just in case, but I'll keep the shelf down, pull the shelf down on low frequency instruments, just like make room for the kick and bass guitar. You make room for other things like cymbals and vocals and, splash off the snare and whatnot. So that's how that's set up. Let's go look at effects. So the cool thing about, I was kind of freaked out when I first started because I just recently started mixing out on the board. Now I know it's the digital board, the StudioLive, just like it's a digital audio workstation, just like a DAW. It does everything the DAW does, right? But the cool thing is, after editing, I never have to touch a mouse. Either way, when I'm in DAW mode or when I'm down here. Now I will sometimes sit back and be like, I don't feel like reaching up here to do anything, and I'll use a mouse, obviously. But I love coming out to the board because it limits me. You know, I watched this interview a couple times actually with Andy Wallace and I watched one in particular where he talks about, well, there's been a few, but anyway, they ask him, what outboard gear do you come out? He uses a thing for chorus, like a delay or symphonic Yamaha, something another. And then he barely uses anything, couple of delay lines. He said, I mix on a SSL. I've got compressor and everything I need right there. So that's what I like about this is it limits me to, I just use this or that. So effects, let's go talk about effects. So I only have 4 effects on here. When I'm mixing through here, I'm not going to those groups or effects in the template. I can if I want to mix in the box. If I want to mix out here on this digital audio workstation, then I do use the effects on the board. So here's the effects. It's only 4 effects. And what I love about that is it limited me to that because I would find myself messing. Man, I had like 3 reverbs, 3 delays, and 2 courses set up. I'd find myself just, getting kind of, when you're limited, you will mix better. Think about people back in the day. They only had 1 fucking reverb or maybe 2. So this is my effects. Let's go check it out. Let's look at the effects. So the first one. Actually, let's start over here. The reverb. Now, the reverb on this StudioLive, this was in a video. Somebody put out a video where this was their least favorite reverb, but it happens to be my favorite reverb because it's got more functionality. You've got more, the rest of them are just like this one. It's cool and all, but this one just seems to have more functionality to me. The other one has presets on buttons, and I use snare plate preset. And then what's cool is I have it set up as an all verb that all of my, that I can push everything into, but I tune it to the snare first and make sure the snare sounds good in it. Then I can tune everything else or push everything else into it as needed. And it's just a big room. Let me show you what it sounds like here. It's just a big room, right? Just like this, a perfect room. Now, the cool thing is I have it set up as the room that I want. So what I do is I just go to the pre-delay over here and adjust that to each song. Now I have a fucking reverb set up for every song. Just adjust the pre-delay for how big I want it or how good the snare is going to sound. Done. Then the next. Oh, and then also on that one, let's see. Effects A. Now what the hell? And then I usually EQ the reverb. They have a EQ and compressor on it. I'll EQ and compress reverb as well. So, all right. Now we're going over to the other B, effects B. I have this PAE 16 digital reverb, supposed to be a thing, a copy of something. I don't really care. I just use the preset vocal double and then leave it where it's at. And that's pretty much where I use it in the song. And then let me show you what that sounds like. Okay. Just a little vocal double, not even big, not very big, right? You can just get as big as you want to. And that's cool. And then I'll add whatever I want to that. Then I have a chorus. Now I've already got, well, I don't have chorus on this. So I don't have chorus on there, but I can put chorus on there and I tune it to the bass. And you'll see in the next video, I use bass on the chorus just like Andy Wallace. So that's what's up. Let me maybe use chorus for the rest of this video, huh? You want to go out? This is with a little bit of chorus, Will I do that? Yeah. Okay. That sounds pretty cool. All right. Then I'll EQ. I won't EQ that one usually. Just use it like it is. Then, yeah, that's the chorus. Right there. I tune it to the bass and then I'm done. This is not tuned. Well, yeah, it is. I think this one is tuned to the song I'm doing right now. Saved it as a preset. Then the delay. What about the delay? Let's go over to delay. I just use a stereo delay. They didn't like this one in the video either, but I do. I like it. So here's the delay. Right? I may do a little automation and just be like, ha, ha, and then end it, like when you're singing, hey, here I am, I'm coming in and I'm taking over, and I'm, do a little delay throw. So that's that, yo. That's that. Done with effects. Oh yeah, and then my stereo bus. I guess I didn't set the EQ on the stereo bus. I usually don't use a EQ on the stereo bus. I will EQ coming out for room correction, but that's about it. And then I just use the Brit comp. It's usually set to 2-to-1. I don't know why I didn't set it on this. I forgot. But either way, just the Brit comp. That's the SSL type comp. And then I'll turn it off and then go back to here. And then you see on my this is muted, so that way I don't accidentally get a loop, a feedback loop, because I'll be recording in. I'm coming into this, recording in, and then mastering over here, and then I have a equal EQ on there just in case I need it. I've got this bus compressor. I use this one to actually run through when I am done mastering because I like this grit button. All right, then I use the TR1 sometimes instead of the other one, or in with the other one, do a little less compression on the other one and then push this one a little bit. It pushes forward. It's pretty cool. And then I'll usually go over to like 0.3 on the width, and it works for some reason every time. This is a really good plugin if you haven't used it. I mean, it's super good. You can do compression, limiting, and then just fix everything right up. It's cool. It's cool, man. There's like analog tape over here. Then I go to, sometimes I want this. This was free, a free plugin that's sizable from Isotope. It's a imager, right? And you can do stereo eyes if you want to. I don't ever use that really, but you can do that or set the width. I like it because it sets the width without really screwing it up, unless you go too far. So I might use that to do the stereo width. Then I might use this EQ. I haven't used it a lot. I don't really. Whoa, what's this? I must have clicked info. Yes, I did. How do I get that off? All right. I clicked info, whatever. I don't use that one a lot anyway. I love this though. I use this, all the time. I have it usually set on balance. Boom. Done. Limiter. It's a limiter. It's a badass limiter. And then you can hit unity gain monitor right here. And that keeps it all sound level where you can set the settings and blah, blah, blah. And then this is my actual room. This is the ARC. This is what I use when I mix digitally out of the DAW. It fixes it, and then of course this is the after. It makes it completely flat. But I don't have one of those on the board, so what I did on the board was just come out and do an EQ, and I'll show you that in the next video for the speakers. And it has 6 points on the standard EQ on the board. So I just went 1, 2, I used 1 for this, 3, 4, 5, and then 6, and flatten those out. Done. Done, son. Used a parametric equalizer. All right. So you've seen enough. You've seen quite enough. Okay. I'm tired of you already. This is getting old already. Don't come back. No, please do. All right. So that's my mixing setup. That's my template, basically. If you're interested in me showing you routing, I can do that. I might get another camera set up so you can see me doing stuff on the board. But I've got it inside the computer, so whatever. Gonna show you a song I'm working on next, and we're gonna work on drums. All right, then.